Welcome to Beyond the Range podcast, boosting Wyoming's economy. We're traveling to all corners of the Equality State, talking with thought leaders about how Wyomingites navigate new paths towards economic diversification. The Beyond the Range podcast is brought to you by Wyoming Truth. Established in 2021, Wyoming Truth is a nonpartisan, nonprofit news operation dedicated to helping the community and fighting for the rights of local citizens. And YourGuides.io, a Wyoming-based blockchain startup transforming travel experiences for remote workers and digital nomads. Founded in 2021, YourGuides.io is a crowdsourced travel intelligence platform honoring great adventures and great adventurers. I'm your host, Marco Rubel, a lifelong resident of Wyoming, a father, entrepreneur, and artist. So now, let's go beyond the range. Welcome, Hans.
Thank you, Marco.
And welcome to all of you. In today's episode, we are going to take a little trip. And we are going to take a little trip into what elections security and elections integrity means in the story of economic diversification for the state of Wyoming. So today we have First Deputy, Park County Clerk, Hans Odde. Hans, welcome.
Thank you, Marco. It's a pleasure to be here.
You have 20 minutes to change the future of Wyoming. Go. Who are you?
Well, Marco, thanks. I appreciate you having me today. Like you said, my name's Hans Odde. I'm the First Deputy Park County Clerk here in Park County. I started in the Park County Clerk's office in 2015, January of 2015. So this will be my third term here under Colleen Renner, our Park County Clerk. And before that, I was the Hot Springs County Clerk for just short of 3 terms before I moved here to Park County. So I ran and was elected 3 times in Hot Springs County, my home county, and my hometown is Thermopolis. And so I've been at the election game now since 2003. I've got just about 20 years of election experience and county government experience.
Yeah. And so you've been witness to some seismic shifts in the electorate, in politics, in governance, in almost the first quarter of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. That's insane. You are like witness to profound things that will in the future affect our state and our polity. What does a clerk do? What does a county clerk do? What does the clerk's office do?
Well, the county clerk is the chief elections officer of the county. And then they are also secretary to the county commissioners. They are the clerk and recorder, so they record all deeds and mortgages in the county, plats, subdivisions, things of that nature. Also, we are the vehicle title office and keeper of all records of the county.
So if it has anything to do with government, public sector, you guys write it down, you record it, and then you store it.
Right. We're kind of the first line for that. Yeah.
And then anybody who wants information about what their government is doing, you're a good avenue to start.
Right. Our office is the first line for public information. Any public information requests that we get, FOIAs, Freedom of Information Act requests, they all come through the clerk's office and then are disseminated out to the other departments should they not be something that is a record that we hold in our office.
Sure. Okay. Now, as we were talking earlier, kind of a big leap between election security, election integrity, and economic diversification. So if we view this podcast through sort of an elevated lens of what we're looking at. So we're looking at, we're looking at election integrity and election security. Say that's the 40,000 foot view. 20,000 foot view is how that relates to economic diversification in Wyoming. And the ground view, your view, being the boots on the ground in the clerk's office, is your job facilitates, say, the candidates' ability to come in, which really is saying you are facilitating our citizens, our community members, for them to have agency, for them to have a say in how they are going to govern themselves, in our democracy, in our representative democracy. So you're the boots on the ground, like you're there, right? Let's talk about how maybe, from 2003 to 2020, say, in those election cycles, every 2 years, thereabouts. Okay, yeah. Right. Kind of just generally, like, what was that like? Because 2020 seems like kind of a watershed moment.
Right. So it's been a really wide expanse for me, because in Hot Springs County, when I was elected, we didn't even have electronic voting systems at that time. We had what's called the Shoop lever machine, which was this mechanical machine that you walked into and you pulled a lever and the curtain closed behind you and you flipped levers to next to the name of the candidate that you wanted to vote for.
Put that link in some comments. What's it called again?
It's a Shoop lever machine.
Shoop lever machine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, they're ingenious, foolproof, but they're a mechanical machine, and they didn't have any real paper record to back them up, though. So when you flip the lever next to the candidate that you wanted to vote for and then opened the curtain back up, then it rolled a little odometer inside of the machine, and that's how the votes were tallied, is this little odometer. First election I did, we had a recount, and I called the Secretary of State's office and I said, "Hey, how do I do a recount on these machines?"
How do you roll back the odometer on this one?
And they said, "Just go out and verify your little odometers, and that's your recount." And okay, so then with the Help America Vote Act of 2002, Wyoming got money from the federal government to get rid of all of the present voting machines that were in Wyoming and upgrade to an electronic tabulator and paper ballots that are a record that you have and that you can hold and that you can recount should you need to. And so all the counties in Wyoming basically replaced the systems that they had with brand new equipment from two different companies at that time. Hot Springs County, we went with ES&S, and then so we'd voted on the first generation of ES&S machines. Well, probably the second or third generation actually of that company's machines for up until 2020, and then in 2020 we got another infusion of money from the feds that we upgraded to the latest generation of ES&S electronic tabulators. So yeah, I've seen a really kind of crazy timeline or an advancement of technology over that time, and we also had upgraded our voter registration system at that time, where we now have a real-time voter registration system that's statewide and it's linked up. And like if you were moving to Park County from another county in the state, I can pull your information from that other county right into Park County and get you to be or make you a Park County registered voter.
Sure, seamless transition.
Yeah. So And that's, that was also a mandate of the Help America Vote Act. And so, yeah, it was and the Help America Vote Act, if you remember back to the presidential election of 2000, that's where that came from, is what happened in Florida with the hanging chads.
Sure.
And you got election workers looking at ballots, they're holding them up to the light. And that's the iconic photo you see of the 2000 presidential election. I would imagine if you Googled the 2000 presidential election, that would be one of the main images that would come up is the election workers looking at those ballots and trying to determine whether or not, with human subjectivity, trying to determine whether that ballot had been voted or not. And that's why then things progress to having the electronic tabulator, where you take the subjectivity of the human eye out of it, and it's just in my mind, it is much more accurate to take that subjectivity out of that piece.
I'm sure that thought's shared, not just in your mind,
So,
but
yeah.
just dealing with reality and statistically speaking.
Right.
And so you're able to quantify opinions in a way with an election.
That's good. Yeah.
Which is you're doing the impossible.
I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
And again, when it comes to this discussion and economic diversification, it's the opinions that the candidates will express, that the electorate, the voters, will follow and vote either or. And it's the opinions, the actions, the knowledge, and the organization of these candidates that ultimately tie our story with election integrity and security into economic diversification. Because, like I said, economies are just people organizing themselves to produce services and products. And a candidate who then becomes an office holder is a vector through which the public and the private sectors can move together, move the ball forward, and self-govern. And that's why it's so important to where you're at. So the first step of doing all of this from a citizen's perspective, from a resident of Wyoming, whether you're Wamsutter or Newcastle or Yoder or Cheyenne, right? Don't forget Sheridan, Jackson, Cody, and all the others. Hot Springs County.
Don't forget Hot Springs County.
Dude, how many people live in Hot Springs County?
About 4,800.
What's Park County?
About 30,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
But from their perspective, how do you vote? Pretend I've never voted. I have. I vote.
Sure.
I've always. But let's pretend I haven't.
Okay.
I just moved to Wyoming.
Perfect.
I'm here.
Well, Mr. Rubel, welcome to Wyoming.
Thanks.
That's the first thing I'm going to tell you.
Thanks,
dude. Welcome home.
Yeah, man.
I use that in sincerity when I do register new people from out of state because they're coming here looking for a home. They're looking for a place to be and to be felt. To feel like they're home. And I do. I welcome them and say, hey, welcome home. And so we get them registered to vote, and part of the election integrity piece that you're talking about is, them having an ID and a social security number of some sort that we can verify who they are with. And so we're making sure that, they're not on the dead roll, that they're not deceased, and making sure that they're a citizen of the United States and things of that nature. And so that integrity piece is taken care of right away with registration. And we're verifying that you are who you are and that you're signing an oath that says, I am who I am. I am 18 years old. I am not a convicted felon, and I do live where I said I live on this form that I'm giving to you. And so you're swearing that oath, you're signing it, we're notarizing that or witnessing it. And so that's the first piece, getting you registered. And then we explain to people, well, you're either in the city or you're out in the country. If you're in the city, you're going to get your city council people. And, if you live up the North Fork, then you're going to be in House District 24, and anywhere in the western part of the state or western part of the county, you're going to be in House District or Senate District 18, and et cetera. We give them the whole lowdown on kind of what districts they're in, and then we let them know where their polling location is, and then how their options for voting. Do you want to vote early? We can vote you early, 45 days in advance of the election in the office. We can send you an absentee ballot. You can stop in and pick up an absentee ballot. You can go to your polling location on election day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., et cetera. So we give them that whole spiel, get them to where they're registered, and then come election day or election time, between that 45-day period, then they're either coming into our office and voting, or voting at home at their kitchen table on their absentee ballot, or they're going to their polling location and voting there. And we have a good many people that feel like elections happen on election day, and that they want to vote on election day at their polling location. But there's more options than that, and there's a good number of people that are finding those options are more convenient for them, and they're really taking advantage of that. So,
and just as safe, right?
Just as safe, absolutely. Yeah. We hear a lot in the national media that absentees are not safe, and they're but we don't have carte blanche absentees. You have to be purposeful in requesting an absentee. You have to call our office and provide us with pertinent information before we will ever give you or send an absentee ballot to you. We can't just send you one without your request. We will not send one to your wife without talking to her. We would,
or husband or partner or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. When I said that, I was speaking more to you, but yeah exactly. It just doesn't happen to where we just carte blanche send absentee ballots out without a request of some sort.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So easy. So if you haven't done already, mosey on down with some form of ID, proof of address.
Yep.
To the clerk's office at your local county courthouse.
Yep.
There's 23 of them in the state.
Or your city.
Or your city. I didn't know that.
So your city clerks. In Cody, we don't do that because the courthouse is in Cody. But in Palamatisi, you can go into your city clerks in Palamatisi, and you can register in Palamatisi with the city clerk there.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Easy.
Okay, so now let's talk about the F word. Actually, the VF word, voter fraud.
Okay.
2020, that seemed to be out there.
Watershed.
What? How much was there any? What, like, where does voter fraud? Where did it happen? Like, did it happen? Like, I'm just so curious.
I'm curious too, because I've not, in all of the court cases that I've read about across the nation, I can't say that I've read one that proved widespread fraud. I'm not going to tell you that there isn't fraud, because we have same-day election or same-day registration in Wyoming. So if you're a felon and you want to come and vote, and you could go to your polling location and you could actually vote, you could, sign a false oath, vote that day, but we're going to catch it on the back end, and you're going to be prosecuted. So that could happen. But as far as the perceived widespread fraud that we've heard about in the mainstream media, I just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the numbers that get thrown about, the what was it? I don't remember how many millions of votes in the presidential election in 2020 that were being, there was a number that was being thrown about that President Trump should have had so many million more votes. Well, there's 3,000 jurisdictions, county jurisdictions in the state or in the United States, ish. I can't remember the exact number, but if you've got 3,000 jurisdictions and you divide that number up, it'd be 20 or 30,000 votes per jurisdiction, and we voted 16,000 in 2020 here in Park County.
Total ballots.
Total ballots.
Yeah.
For the general election. So, and granted, there's other jurisdictions that have millions of voters.
Yeah. Well, see, the nice thing is, like, I don't work for the county.
Yeah.
Like, I'm self-employed, right?
Right.
So I can say this. If there is evidence, there is evidence. If there is not evidence, this tactic, which I think is born in marketing of division for whatever reasons, and whoever's pushing it, whatever actors are pushing it, but to divide at the ballot box based off of hearsay is dangerous, to say the least. And it didn't happen in 2020. The widespread, like you said, as mainstream media, whoever media, as it was in the general zeitgeist of our country, it did not happen. And this is me talking. Mm-hmm. This isn't Hans, Odde. This is Marco. But I'm going to say that because I am a citizen of the state of Wyoming, and I do fundamentally care about election integrity and security and how that does lead to economic diversification. Because as we know, if you are tuning in to this podcast and you understand anything about our state, economic diversification is how we are going to survive, but more importantly, how we're going to be able to have public servants like yourself greet a new person coming in to register to vote and say, welcome home. Mm-hmm. That's where we start. We don't start with division. We don't start naming names. We don't start getting nasty. We start with understanding reality. Why do you do what you do?
So I had a really, really wise teacher in high school. He was Mr. Allen, Carl Allen. He was my civics teacher in high school. And he told us all in class all the time, we should all strive to serve our communities somehow, whether we serve our communities in our church, whether we serve our communities in a governmental format where you're a board member or you're a councilman or you're a commissioner or you're a representative or a senator or the governor of your state. We should all strive to serve our communities somehow. Picking up trash, just serving, volunteering at the food pantry, whatever you can do to serve your community. And that just always struck a chord with me. And he was a county commissioner when I first ran for office in Hot Springs County. And he said, I never expected this of you, Mr. Odde. And I was like, well, I hope I make you proud. And he says, I'm already proud. So that's the why. But I think my, along with that is I want to ensure the highest level of integrity that we can have with our elections, because it is important. It's important, like you said, when we're talking about economic diversification, it's important to get those candidates registered so they can get on the ballot, so they can then share their ideas with us about, hey, let's diversify. Let's get out of the oil and gas boom and bust cycle. And I'm not saying that I want oil and gas to go away, because it's what has got us here to where we are at in Wyoming today. And I would never say that. But the boom and bust cycle is a reality, has been for 100 years in Wyoming probably. And so the integrity of our elections is upmost in my mind always. And it's down to the security of making sure that our seals for our election machines are locked up, things of that nature. That it's everything from the little things all the way to the big picture of election night and getting those results out and making the public aware of their opinion, what they have chosen through their opinion on their ballot, and get but security and integrity, more so integrity, because the integrity piece I think falls back on our shoulders. That's a personal piece to me. Security is a component of integrity in my mind.
Yeah.
But the integrity is partly my reputation.
Sure.
And Colleen's reputation as county clerk. It's our reputations that are on the line with that integrity piece.
And integrity is wrapped up in the Cowboy Code, as I understand.
I believe it is.
One of the main tenets. So
yes.
Beyond that, hands. Air
Marco.
high five. It's a tradition we do. You're awesome. If anybody wants any more information to understand their government better, to understand the processes, to understand why public servants operate in the realm of integrity, go to the clerk's office, go to their website, give them a holler, take out the mystery.
Please.
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 Yeah.
So with that,
this has been fun.
dude,
Yeah.
it has been.
Yeah.
We're just telling the stories on the path, the trail of economic diversification in the state of Wyoming. Peace.